This is a real challenge. Charlotte Legends Oval in the street stocks. This is a guide for absolute beginners. All you need is an iRacing subscription and to have done the rookie onboarding and one race against other people. You don't need to know anything else about oval racing, and we're going to keep it very, very simple. This is how in just 1 hour I prepare for every oval race I do. Let's get some running in and see how we go. There is a clock up at the top left here which shows the top of the hour, if you just want to be sure I'm not putting one over on you and this really did take 60 minutes. Just like to say a big hello to me from the past. Now what you have to remember about me from the past is, he does have a bit of a temper on him. Now at this stage we're not trying to be fast, we're just trying to get our bearings. When you're doing these half-speed laps, you notice things like some helpful person painting a little line on the corner there. Right, we've figured this place out now. Let's try and get up to speed. So all we're looking for here is a time that we can get on the board and then move forward from. You can see here it's really difficult to get the power down with absolutely no banking at all to help keep the car stuck to the road. Fighting for control, still managing to bring it round. And there's your first time. Let's see what we can do next. Being fast here is all about absolute control and patience with the throttle. Much easier said than done. Nice and planted through there. And we've managed to get it into the 17s. Can we push on from there? Better, but we can always reset. It's not like we've got a parts budget. And in the interest of time, the rest of our first session went like this. We managed to put in a 17.6 quite quickly. We hit the wall a few times for good luck. And then we spun round and round in circles a lot. And then, after a few laps of really quite hard work, we managed to finish off with a 17.3 for our first 15 minutes. We've done this a little while. It's time for a cup of tea and a quick leg stretch. Now that we've managed to have our tea without anyone throwing it into Boston Harbour for us, let's get into an AI race and see how that goes for us. We'll have a quick 2 laps qualifying, make sure the AI is in the right place for us, and we'll also dial in a good long race length. Make sure that the temperature and the time of day is set to the same as the race will be. We want to be a bit leery and bounce the car off a few things, so we'll make sure that damage is turned to the off position. Let's see how it goes. Bugger. Okay, let's just turn their skill down a little bit, shall we? And then we have another run, dropping it neatly in the mid-pack as I forget to turn my overlays back on. And then I get to do my favourite thing in this whole game. Bullying AIs on the formation laps. Yes, this is quite childish, but there is actually a value to what I'm doing here. I am exploring exactly how close I can get to the back of a car without hitting it up the backside. Right, serious head on now. Time to go racing and see what we can learn from this. It's not the fastest way to get around, but sometimes I just can't resist a bit of air and centre throttle. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that this is a race-off. Right, pop out the car, quick tap on the back it up button, and we're back on the formation lap. We can bully the AIs again. But seriously, gotta get some good work in. Here we go. Racing these AIs is really good preparation for real people, although it's a very different experience. They're much more consistent than a real driver would be, and they're also quite a lot better behaved. If you behave correctly, you have no fear of getting crashed out by them. But if you chop down in front of them, they will pit maneuver you without a second thought. It's a really good tutor. You can run like this for as long as you can manage. I've got 50 laps dialed in. I rarely do the full amount because I usually make a mistake or the time runs out on me and it's time to move on to something else. But this could go and go and go for as long as you're getting any benefit from it. That's the key point. Do not keep pushing after any one activity has got stale and you feel like you're not improving. Do not be afraid to change what you're doing once you've given it a fair chance and you know you've got all the improvements from it that you possibly can. In this session I ran about 15 laps of this. Really good, close, intense racing. Then I looked at the time, and you may have to trust me on this one, but when I looked at the time I found that I'd been practicing for about 30 minutes. And when that 30-minute mark came, I knew it was time to stop, have a little refresh, and crack on with something else. I knew there was still time to be gained, but I wasn't going to gain it just going round and round in circles with the AI. If you're enjoying yourself, drop a like, leave a comment, let me know what you want to see. Now do remember that the algorithm wants you to hit the like button when you like something, because it's going to take that data, it's going to use that data to serve you better videos. So when you do that, you're not just helping me out, you're improving your own experience. Now then, can't have too much tea in one day, so it's time for a bit of the old root beer. I do like a bit of the old root beer. As you can see here, got a nice bit of German discount retailer, own brand, American style root beer. Oh, I could go for a mugs about now. Here we go, telemetry time. This is Garage 61, it's a free site but there's plenty of telemetry here to get the beginner off and running. So, top right, go to app, that will show us a list of all the sessions we've been in recently. We'll click into the AI race we've just done. Looking at the list of laps we can do, you can see it's split up by qualifying, practice and the race, and as ever your fastest lap will be highlighted in purple. So, if we click on Analyze, that'll take us to the main screen where we can see what's going on. We go Create a New Analysis, and we get here. Over on the left it shows us the laps we've done. Here in the middle you get a map of the track. Zoom with your scroll wheel or with the plus/minus buttons at the top left. The red dot is replicated over on the right and it shows you exactly what was going on with your inputs at every stage of the lap. As you move the red dot around, the dots on the right move to show you exactly what you were doing on throttle, brake, steering wheel, gear and your overall speed. This is all really useful information to know as we try to get better. For instance, we can see that in the middle of turn 1 we tried to get on the throttle too early and had to come out of it. We can also see that our braking in turn 2 kind of looks like an elephant, and that's not what we want. To compare it to a faster driver's lap, we click the cog over at the top left, add laps at bottom left of the next screen, and we can scroll through all the laps that have ever been uploaded to Garage 61. By clicking Me, you can go down and see where your personal best ranks. You can also search by any friends you have or teammates, or any drivers you're following. We'll choose this lap from Ian Egan. And by the way, while we're on this screen, a really great feature here is Add Filter. This will let you search for laps set during qualifying or laps set during a race. This is important because if you're trying to figure out why your mid-race pace is poor, there's not a lot of point comparing that to a lap set on low fuel and fresh tyres for qualifying. Now, by clicking Apply, we've returned to this screen. The two laps will be displayed in different colours. We'll swap the order around so that Ian's lap is in red and ours is in a contrasting colour. We can see that at the bottom of the screen there's a new display. This is crucial for figuring out where you're gaining and losing time. We're actually gaining a little time on Ian as we go into the first turn, but then we give it all back on exit. You can also click to add notes at various points around the lap. So, going into turns 1 and 2, Ian brakes it much more smoothly than us without the "oh damn, I've made a mistake" elephant. His throttle application is also a lot smoother without the big notch at the end. However, on the plus side, turns 3 and 4 look a lot better. We can see that we lose a little time on braking thanks to our stabby input, but I like our throttle compared to his as we come out, and we can see down at the left that we don't actually lose much time on exit. Comparing our speed at the top right tells us several things. First of all, it shows us what Ian thinks is the minimum speed through the corners. It's also clear how we lost so much time on the entry to turns 3 and 4. He braked a little later, and that gave him a higher speed going into the corner. The one thing I am impressed by is my steering angle. I'm using a bit more than Ian is, but particularly through turns 3 and 4, our steering looks very smooth, and I think this was a good lap for steering. So, now I know what needs to improve, I can get back out on track and try and get a little bit faster. It's going to be quite a technical session where I'm going to be looking at consciously improving the inputs I'm giving to the car, so I'm going to go out in a solo test session rather than an AI race. But before we do that, let's just go and check some of the earlier races, have a look at some of the splits we might drop into, and figure out what kind of ultimate pace we're looking for. Got a nice fastest lap and a good average lap to shoot for. It's a bit ahead of what we put up so far, but that gives us something to work towards. And we can also have a quick look at the higher split. We can also have a quick look at the lower split. Now we figured out what kind of competition we're up against, time to get back out there. Now, the nature of these sessions is that they're likely going to be very difficult as you start pushing for every last bit of lap time. Mistakes are natural, mistakes are common, and mistakes are nothing to be afraid of. Well, as long as they're good mistakes at least. As long as you know what you were trying to do that made you make that mistake, there is no harm in going out there and testing the limits of it, just like I'm doing at the moment. And after 5 or so minutes of the mistakes continuing to come, and spinning round and round repeatedly, I decided it was time to change focus. It's very important that when something doesn't work in your practice session, you don't just persist with it. If you persist with something that isn't working, you can easily get frustrated or bored, and both of those things will lead to slower lap times and ultimately disillusionment and burnout. I'll also help keep my practice sessions fresh by turning things on and off in the user interface, particularly the inputs just above my head and the session best lap and delta bar just above that. These are all useful things to know, but you can easily get suckered into fixating on them and looking at them instead of where you're going. You may find that with that pressure off, you actually go faster. And doing this can also teach you important things like how to judge the speed of your car by the sound of your engine. If you can use your ears to tell you how fast you're going and not your eyes, then your eyes are free to look at the apex and avoid other people's crashes. I continued like this for the next 10 minutes and was mostly able to put decent consistent laps in, somewhere between a 17.0 and a 17.5. If I can keep that going in a race, that will be decent pace, still behind where I want to be, but hopefully still decently competitive pace in the race. The only thing left to learn now is wreck avoidance, and the only way to learn that is by going out and racing. So the next time you have to learn a new car track combo, set aside an hour of time and try something like this. Come back in the comments and let me know how it goes.